Welcome to Faith Over Breakfast. You are listening to a podcast by Pastor Eric Deepen and Pastor Andy Littleton. If you enjoy Faith Over Breakfast, we encourage you to rate it on the Apple Podcast app, on Spotify, or Google Play. Thank you and enjoy the podcast. You've been listening to Faith Over Breakfast. Oh no, you haven't been listening.
Because it just started.
Ooh. Hey, Andy, it's Faith Over Breakfast.
Hey. Good morning.
And you're a pastor. And I'm a pastor.
Yep, Tucson, Arizona. You're at the Village.
I've heard
we're here now. And I pastor at Mission Church. And this is the weight loss episode.
Exercise. You get a little back history of Andy and me and our history with food and stress.
Yeah.
And then we talk a little bit about our journeys.
Yeah.
And
you get to slowly start thinking about your own.
Yeah, I think it's good. And please just fast forward past the 2 minutes about Chick-fil-A.
Well, unless
you need to fact check this.
Unless it's true.
Yeah, unless it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In which case, and aren't you curious what that is? You better wait for it.
Yeah, so here are your two ways to support us. One is to send us a text. The other one is to support us. So you can do it.
Yeah.
$3, $5, or $10. It says support the show. Click the link. It's easy. You got Apple Pay. If you have Apple Pay, it's a quick thing.
Imagine how good you'd feel if you did that.
Well, and think about how you're not. Just say, you know what? I'm going to give up. Here it is. It's our weight loss program. You give up going to one fast food meal a month, and you give us that money, $10 to Faith Over Breakfast.
Hey, that's probably not the worst strategy. Give away one of your unhealthy meals to a charity.
Yeah.
Or the podcast.
There you go.
Love. Okay.
There you go.
Well, hey, enjoy the show.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Well, today's one of those days where Eric's got a list.
I got a list, Andy, and this list today is list of titles of podcasts in my podcast stream. I've heard some of these. I haven't heard others, and they just kind of go on down my. And
you think we're going to do a better job than these people?
I have no idea what some of these people even talked about. So here's one. We'll start at the bottom. Justin Bieber is a dad.
I mean, is that like what the kids are saying these days? Does that even mean what I think it means?
It's trending, man. It was in People and Cosmopolitan.
I mean, does dad just stand for something like daily, always dancing or something?
Wow, that was good. Very good. You always have a teenage daughter.
I do.
You're good at that one. All right. Here we go. Breaking the hold of apathy.
It's hard to do that when you're feeling apathetic, though.
That's right. How to talk politics and not fight.
Okay. I mean, that's like everyone's talking about that one.
Except
Except if you want to fight.
Unless you want to fight. AI and child welfare linked to artificial intelligence and human stupidity.
Artificial children.
There you go.
That's what we need to talk about.
Right.
How do you have and raise an artificial child?
Healing requires relationship.
Okay.
How to lose weight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And the last one is what do you thirst for? We could throw all those out and talk about something else. Oh, the last one, and for sure I listened to this podcast, The Prophetic.
The Prophetic.
Yeah, by the Remnant Radio people.
Oh. I'll tell you what I thirst for is water.
Would you like some water?
No, that's not what I'm saying, but I don't drink enough of it. Like yesterday I met with someone at 3:00 and they said something about drinking water, and I realized I haven't had any water today at 3:00. There was coffee. Did have coffee.
That's a problem.
Yeah, that probably explains a lot.
Yeah. So how old are you?
41.
So this is near the first time I had my first kidney stone.
Oh,
and I was not drinking enough water. So now,
just
I
tell me
drink
that.
a lot of water.
I do
and
not
a lot of fluids.
I do not want a kidney stone.
Yeah, you do not. It's I've been told it's as close as you get to having a baby as a man.
Yeah, I've heard similar things.
So
yeah.
Anyway,
I don't want to say any more of what I'm thinking about that.
Wow. Andy, it's so good to see you.
Hey, good to see you.
You're going away for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I won't be here for two of our podcast days anymore.
Yeah, we'll run the best of.
Perfect. That's great. That's great. I will be here over the summer. You too, right?
Yep. I'm here for the summer, so you're gonna get faith over breakfast for the summer.
Faith over summer breakfast.
Summer
sizzling.
Isn't it more like fruit parfaits and
in
granola
Tucson?
In the summer?
That's kind of what I eat.
Yogurt.
I guess we're talking about losing weight because that's what I'm.
Are you trying to lose some weight?
No. I'm not. I'm right where I should be weight wise.
Okay.
I wasn't 2 years ago.
Okay.
But I do need to be more muscular, and there's still a little. If a little bit of belly fat could be, not converted there and converted, but
to muscle.
My weight is fine.
Okay, that's good.
But there is still work to do, and I did a lot of work to get there.
Good job.
Thanks. But it's the maintenance of the needed activities, not just activity. The type you need has been a bit of a struggle for me.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Who's the famous Duke basketball player who then played in the NBA?
Grant Hill,
3-point shooter,
Christian Laettner,
white guy. He just retired a couple of years ago. Has podcasts.
Oh,
why am I blanking his name? Man, this is important.
White guy that goes to Duke. That's like a million.
That's all of them. But no, he's like the most recent famous one. Like he played with Chris Paul and the Clippers.
On the Clippers.
Then they were doing the run for the championship.
Shoot, man, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Oh my gosh, this is terrible.
I don't tend to be as dialed into where these people went to college.
Anyway, he's retired. And I saw him on a podcast, and they were all like, "Oh man, you're like a lot smaller." But he's super skinny now. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm skinny fat. Like, I lost all the muscle from the NBA because he's like, I stopped. I don't lift weights. I don't do any of that anymore." It's
right.
It'll go like that.
Yeah.
Especially the older you get, if you do not maintain your muscle, it will go.
That's exactly right. So, I don't know. As everyone who knows you knows, Eric, you have very muscular legs. It's just a thing that every once in a while we're walking in the podcast studio and go like, man, this guy could kick me like across the state. So you've figured something out.
This is the thing that like why my legs are muscular. Okay, I'm going to tell you why.
This is good podcast content.
I started playing soccer when I was 5 years old, and I played it year round until I was 6th grade. Then when I started playing basketball and I ended in the weight room, the what do you call the press where you get down and you're in the leg press?
Yeah.
I got obsessed with the leg.
Okay.
And how much I could leg press.
And are you still obsessed with it?
No, but my legs
stuck.
Just never changed.
Somehow you did the leg press and it locked in. It's like getting a scar.
Let's just say I did more leg press than everything else.
Oh.
Because I was like, well, I'm pretty strong and this is fun.
Interesting.
So it's the leg presses and that's what happened. And then genetics and genes.
Genes. The not wearing jeans?
Yeah,
that's your
jeans.
Yeah.
That is, so.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's kind of funny.
So are we talking about losing weight? I think we are.
I'm not any good at it.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. Because that seems to be what we're talking about right now.
I mean, I always just do confessions.
Confessions of a...
I have a highly stressful job.
Yeah. And is eating a stress management? It is for me.
It's something I learned from my father and mother on how to manage stress. Because as I came from a family where food was the central part of just community.
Yeah.
And the funny story that I always tell about my dad, but it is very true, is that we would be doing chores on Saturday. Almost every Saturday this happened when I was at least in high school. And my dad would be gone. He'd say something like, "Oh, I got to go get something at Ace." And then he's gone. And then he's gone for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Well, where'd he go? He went to the local pizza shop.
Oh.
My dad knew all the little pizza shop places. He knew all the owners. And so he would just go get himself a slice of pizza. He just had to get out of the house and have some pizza. And I kind of learned that that's
John never taught me that method.
The way you handle things that are difficult in life is to eat. And so my mom would do here's what my mom would do. Poor mom. She doesn't listen to this podcast, so that's okay. She's definitely a health food nut. And we grew up eating really healthy. But I would come out like from studying in high school, and I come into the kitchen, it's like 11 o'clock, and there's my mom standing in the dark.
Yeah.
And she's got a bowl, and she's taken butter and melted it and then put brown sugar in it and stirred it all around, and she's just eating it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, we eat really healthy, and then she's like sneaking this. So she grew up with like a cake for dinner every night.
Oh, yeah.
So
where you always had a dessert,
but she did.
Yeah. Well, okay. So this is core to the question: is what's the role that eating has been assigned to you in your life, or that that it plays, or that it's become? And so right there, I'm hearing two things, but they're similar things.
Now. Everybody's going to talk to me about weight loss now. It's great.
Well, this is for everyone. This is,
I love this.
you.
I wanted to say we've never done a weight loss podcast.
No.
We're on new territory here.
We're in entirely new territory.
Okay, keep going.
But this is really relevant stuff. I mean, people are dealing with this and have very different thoughts on this.
Yeah.
And so, I'll just say I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not, obviously, this is not my expertise. I'm speaking of things I'm aware of.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm a pastor. But the role that food has been assigned to you, or that it's played in your life, or that it, or there's some event and food begins to take this place, it does something for you. So what I'm hearing from you is, for your dad, it's the escape.
Mm-hmm.
And so things are hard. Life is hard. Your dad's a counselor. It's like things get emotionally difficult. The way to escape, and you watched your dad do this, is he went and got some pizza or something.
Yeah, mostly just pizza.
He didn't get a salad.
Mm-mm.
He went high carb comfort food.
Yeah.
Right? There's a reason they call it comfort food. And then for your mom, it sounds like it was a previously built-in source of pleasure, and she had kind of renounced it.
Yeah.
But maybe when things were hard, or she was tired after a long day, because of that, what it had been in her life, she would just be like, I just want something rich and sweet. Like, this is kind of the reward.
All right, so let me tell some more stories to fill this out. So I would like to expand it for my mom, because not only that, my mom was trained in Italy as a cook. She also cooked on a dude ranch for like 300 cowboys in Montana. Yeah. So, and
for those of you who are under 40, this is not just like a ranch full of guys.
Yes, right.
It's not just a bunch of like dudes with their shirts off.
That would have been interesting.
Speaking of weight loss,
it was a ranch, cattle ranch. But anyway, so my mom likes food anyway. Like she loves cooking. She loves seeing people happy. Our dinner table, like, a lot of times families get together and sit around the table, and it lasts for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
In my house, even as I was growing up, you didn't leave the dinner table like hour and a half.
Wow.
Because we were talking, we were arguing, we were laughing, the food was good all the time. So that was a big part of my family. So food is just a central part. So that's that. Mm-hmm. But again, my parents didn't want to go to Baskin Robbins. Like when I was 5 years old, they tell the story about how they didn't want to go. So they would get in the car and put me in the back, and they would drive around. And then if I asked to go to ice cream, then they could go have ice cream. So they would do whatever they could to try to hint at it without directly talking to me. Yeah. So this is part of like it's just so integral to me as a person. And then I learned in high school, like when my grades shifted and everything, and I went from like a D student to a 4.0 student. One of the things I did to do that, just to manage my kind of learning disabilities and everything, was get a 2-liter Mountain Dew and a big bag of chips, and then work for 5 hours straight doing homework. So food became this catalyst to getting things done. didn't really affect my body that much because I was
Yeah.
running 4 or 5
Yeah.
miles a day. I was lifting weights.
When
I
you're
was
young,
18 years old, so I was active.
that's not some people can't do that when they're young, but
Right.
some, it's like it doesn't have an effect.
Yeah. So I didn't see, like, at least obviously it was destructive to my body, but I was not seeing that at the moment. So there you go. There's my history of food.
Well, I relate to some of that, but there's some differences, but this is really important. So I did a couple years ago. I joined kind of a get back in shape group, and I've heard other people that have had mixed results with this particular group.
Right.
For me, I think I was ready for it, and they didn't have to do it perfectly. I just needed someone else doing it and a program and something to follow. And I also signed up for a physical trainer for, what was it, like 3 months. I paid for 3 months or something. And so that was probably one of the better things I've ever done from a health perspective, was get in this group, get a personal trainer, pay for it, put skin in the game. Some of all of it has stuck to this day. Some of it hasn't. But one of the core things in that group that they did is they would share these videos, and you were supposed to watch, and it had a lot of it had to do with your relationship with food, your education about food. Like they kind of went at some of that, like maybe you don't understand how food works, but also you need to understand kind of your emotional relationship with food. I would assume if you didn't really dive into those videos and take them to heart, you're not going to get anything out of it.
Right.
But that part was the part that really made me think. And I knew there was something off, but I hadn't taken the time. Oh, you little sinner. The phone. Anyway.
Oh, look at everybody. I was mocked by my co-host. All right, continue. It's my father.
Oh, he knew you were talking about him and the pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Anyway. So for me, we grew up very, very poor. I was really aware. I would watch my mom doing the checkbook, and I would see that sometimes we would hover down to where we might have like $10 to $15 in the bank account. We were like right there. And so we would go to buy food, and my mom would write a check. And so as the groceries are going along the little conveyor belt, she's watching the number. She has her checkbook, and she would remove things off the little belt, to make sure we didn't overdraft. And so that was a factor. So we did not have cakes. Now this was, I should say, my early years. This wasn't the case when we lived in Oregon, but until I was 6, there was more money. When we moved here, this was an accidental move for my family. We didn't mean to stay. We meant for my dad to take a program and find a job, and it didn't work. And so that was my Arizona years. But we weren't having cakes. We weren't having anything extra. But then on top of that, my mom, and I can't quite remember, she was she was born right after the Depression. She knew how to cook a couple things, which is interesting, you'd think. But I think that their family kind of ate very basic things. Like there wasn't like culinary work. It was survival food, right? And she would talk about that. Like it'd be like some rice and a piece of bread or something, and a slice of a tomato.
Yes, Rod, my co-pastor and your good friend, would tell us very similar stories.
Yeah, so you're not getting into the culinary joys if you're there. Usually, it's harder, and especially if your parents are working really hard. So she didn't come out of her childhood with a love of cooking or whatever. So we were getting like the can of this. I grew in Tucson. I grew up with a lot of the little, probably back then 19-cent taco seasoning that got on a little bit of ground beef, and then there was a tiny sprinkle of cheese because that was expensive, and we ate the little hard shell taco with everything the cheapest we could possibly get. So it wasn't that we ate healthy, but we didn't eat much, and it wasn't an event in the home. So there were no desserts. I can't, other than maybe making a cake. And usually even that's like we'd get the little cheapest box and just throw the egg in there. And so that wasn't there. So I don't have that piece. So in a way, eating sparingly at home is kind of normal. Like my dad would come home and grab, like we'd have some cheap lunch meat or something. He'd grab like some lunch meat and some baby carrots and just eat like that and be like, all right, I'm done. That was it. But what we did do is we would, when there was something really stressful going on or like really hard week, my mom would reward usually herself and I, because my dad would be worried about the money. So if he's at work, she's had a really hard week, she would be like, oh, let's go to Subway.
So Subway became your reward.
McDonald's.
Or McDonald's, yeah.
It was like, those were standards. Sometimes Arby's, but those were kind of the...
Wendy's was ours, but yeah.
Yeah, like, it's been rough. We might not have enough money for this. And when I went to Subway, I went to Subway. Like, I got a duked out... Like, I wasn't like, just a couple things. I'm like, everything on that sandwich. Right. Like every single thing. Get it. Just massive. And I'd get a foot long and I would just chomp, just down this thing. But it was occasional. Well, then we started to not be so bad off. We started to have a little more margin, and the eating out increased.
Yes, I also noticed that in my family as their careers advanced.
Yeah.
And they had more expendable money.
Yeah. So rather than go, okay, we're in a different mode now, the eating out increased. But it was this treat. It was a reward, but we started to get rewarded often, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that sense of food to me is connected to, I'm busy, I'm stressed, or I've had a hard day, I get a reward, right?
Yeah.
And I can manufacture those feelings about any day.
Yeah. All that to tell you, he can manufacture it all in one day.
Yeah. And so having to and recognize that, like, okay, this doesn't necessarily mean, but then there were some of my pieces of my story I could use, like the whole like snacking at home, and we don't need to like make a cake at home.
Right.
That can be helpful if you're trying to eat healthy.
Right.
And then my problem would be the snacks that are available. I've had to tell my wife, no soda in the house, no cookies. Like, I can't handle it.
Right. No, I've told my daughter, if you make cookies, you have to take them somewhere else.
Yeah.
Which then I get upset when she makes cookies and I don't get one. Sorry. I mean, So it's very difficult.
So finding like healthy snacks that you do feel rewarded by. It's like working against your own psyche. Like how do I reward myself with something that's helping me out to some degree? It's like, how do I understand how my brain has decided to relate to food and then hack it? Like,
yeah.
So I've found a couple things at restaurants that are healthy, that are really work for me, that I do like. And so I try to just choose those. Yeah. And inexpensive ones, and have things at home. So like I do an almond milk yogurt that I found one I really like. And I like fruit. I've always liked fruit. So I throw blueberries in there, and we try to get a overpriced, actually healthy granola. I eat that like every single morning. I love it. And it works. It's really good. And it's good for me, gives me energy. So I've figured that, and I figured that out over that period of time when I was in that group. Like, here's something that fits within, they had some strict limits on what you could eat for 45 days. And I was like, this fits, and I like it. It's become a habit now. So, and then the other thing that was key for me, because it is good to eat wonderful food. It is good to be rewarded. It is good to enjoy a cake and a fatty slice of meat, right?
Yeah.
And so the rule I made for myself was, if somebody's hosting me, if I'm going to a party, or like it's a special occasion, we're going out to dinner, no rules. Just enjoy.
Yeah.
Just enjoy.
That's interesting.
So anyway, I lost 35 pounds.
Okay.
2 years ago.
Okay.
And it took me about 50 to 60 days. I lost most of it during the 45 and got down to where I'm supposed to be. Then the strength training stuff was super helpful. I mean, when I had an appointment with somebody, and I mean, I was having pain and weird nerve stuff, it cleared up entirely by just doing mostly basic balance work, core exercises. I haven't felt that good in a long time. And I still do about 30% of that regimen most nights in my living room.
That's awesome.
But 60%, because I don't have a coach pushing me,
sure,
I have struggled with. So there's your little
spiel.
Spiel.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have always worked out, gosh, since the last.
Do you do more weights and stuff like that?
Well, I here's the issue is I have this weird thing that it's a couple things about weight loss and working out.
Yeah.
So last year I lost 25 pounds.
Yeah.
And then I'll hit November.
Yeah.
Everything shuts down in my life, and I will gain back about half to 2/3 of it by April. And then I'll kick back into working out, and I'll work out and walk and run, do all that kind of stuff until, November. And I might lose, depending on how I work my diet, I'll lose 15 to 20 pounds. And then because partly I feel like I have a very regimented, very disciplined life. My wife jokes that she says, "Oh, Eric, you took the day off. So what did you do?" And I start talking, I accomplished all these things on my day off. And I'm like, how did I do that? Because I just live an extremely disciplined life. And
you're in a pattern.
Yeah, I have a lot of patterns that I've developed over a long period of time.
Yeah, me too. Or to some degree.
But so there's two things that are at play. It's the food thing, history that we already talked about for me. That's at play. The other thing is that I had two very traumatic sports injuries.
Yes, this stuff matters. Yeah.
And every time I start to work out, I have to push past what I would call a mind-body injury. So if I start running, my knee will start hurting so bad that for a week I won't be able to walk. And I can choose to stop, and then my knee will heal up. Or I can choose to push through, and it'll eventually heal.
I relate to this in that I severely injured one of the discs in my lower back, nearly herniated it. And it's a catch-22. If I start working out, I'm going to feel it to some degree, but if I don't work out, it's going to get me. And so that's where you have to change it can't be the regimen of your youth, right?
Right. No,
you have to do something that factors in your capacity to get injured again, and works against it. Yeah.
And also, I mean,
the best you can.
And, so last year I worked out and walked, I would say, I worked out probably like 30 to 45 minutes a day with lightweight, HIIT style kettlebell. I'm just a kettlebell freak. I love kettlebells and light bench pressing. As an older person, I don't bench more than 100 pounds. Yeah. Because I'm not going to hurt myself. Yeah. And, people are like, well, that's not very much. Yeah, no, it's not, but it builds muscle. Yeah. Because, I just do a lot of it, and I don't injure myself. And I've already gone through all the injuries.
Now from what I'm gathering, the walking is very good. Like if running
I've stopped running. I just walk now.
Yeah. Walking, I think, is generally good for almost everybody.
Well, in fact, if you can walk 30 minutes a day, and where your heart rate hits like I think 110, then you move from being inactive to active, and you're getting the same benefits as a general runner.
Yeah,
in your life.
Right.
But you got to do it 30 minutes a day. You can't just be like, well, I walked 2 times this week. Well, okay, that's better than none, but it hasn't moved you from inactive to active.
Now, when I was younger, and I've heard this many times, like the big idea was weightlifting, right? and getting stronger. And I think, even think about something like the NBA, and you've got your like Kevin Durant and Chet Holmgren and Wemby types. Like they're starting to discover that bulk isn't everything.
No, but it is. But it is for old people.
Well,
Not bulk, but you need to have muscle, and then you need to maintain
but
muscle.
it needs to be okay. This is where I'm out of my field.
Yeah,
but this is my guess, and people who know can correct me and email us or whatever. But
we may actually get people to send little things to us.
You don't need muscle in that it's like, bench press this many and you need full body muscle. Mm-hmm. You need the little muscles around your kneecap. You need the muscles in your ankle. You need like that level. And that's kind of what the physical trainer was teaching me.
Okay.
Like some of my regimen, and it's hilarious. I walk through my house on my tippy toes. Mm-hmm. And then backwards on my tippy toes, and then I walk on my heels, and then backwards on my heels.
Those are all our basketball drills. Yeah,
right.
You're working. Yeah.
Well, and they are basketball, because if you're driving, making moves, your ankles are in danger. Mm-hmm. But this guy was saying to me, and I do like to play basketball, but he's also like, you're going to just need this for life. He was talking about some 80-year-old guy that was like a friend of his friend's dad, who did calisthenics, basically, like a lot of core, a lot of like full body muscle stuff, and had a fall at the Washington Monument on the steps, and like popped up. It was fine. Like he just like tripped, and he was saying that, and that grandpa was saying, that's why I do all these workouts. Is because everybody trips. Mm-hmm. But when you're 80 and you're not in good shape, that could be the end.
Yeah.
But if your whole body muscular system is getting work, you'll be fine, or you have a lot better chance.
Yeah. The other issue is that the reason you want to do weight bearing exercises as you get older, and weight bearing is that you're losing your strength really fast. And so you can't steady yourself. You can't hold yourself up.
Yep.
You can't pull yourself out of a chair. You can't get, so some of it's like being able to bear weight and to bear your own weight.
And this begins at probably age 30. That's the misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And I think I used to think like, well, someday when I'm 75 and I'm having a hard time getting out of a chair, I'll do whatever they tell me to do. And that's not how it works. It's or that would be very difficult to catch up and do. But if you start to kind of transition in out of your youthful years, out of your prime, into kind of a full body muscle building lifestyle, then you can maintain this thing. You can teach yourself what you're going to need to do when you're 80, and you can be, just prepared for it, because the same things start to occur when you're 30, 40, 50. It's not that you can't get out of the chair, but you're starting to feel it a little bit more, and everything just takes more maintenance. It's kind of like a car.
Yeah.
Like except it's a car that you don't get to choose, that you don't get to upgrade your body. You have to maintain it.
Yeah.
And as it ages, things get damaged more easily.
So, I feel like we're talking about this is a very American privileged conversation. Well, it's also a very modern conversation.
Yes and no. I think it's an American and modern privilege conversation, but it's also one that's created by our society and our privilege.
Yeah, yeah.
Most people are moving around and having to do all their own activities for themselves, and historically, this was just life.
Yeah.
You had to walk along rocky roadways to get to the market.
Yeah.
So you were building these muscles.
Yeah.
And balancing.
And I think, life was and isn't, I think, intended to be a little bit slower than we live.
Oh, for sure.
And
you're not supposed to sit it's slower, but less sitting.
Yes. And the accomplishment level, we're so driven to say our value is built on what we accomplish and how we and how much money we make and all these other kinds of things that then put our health as secondary, right? We live under high stress situations. Why are we eating
Right.
Because, I mean, how did I open this up? My job is stressful.
It's so often a stress thing. Yeah.
Right. And it's also like, well, if I'm taking care of myself, then I'm not taking care of other people or whatever it is. Or I have my own, like then how mental health plays into weight issues.
Oh, yeah.
How hormones as you get older play into weight issues. Yeah. I mean, how trauma plays into weight issues. I mean, we can go on and on.
And we have to acknowledge what we haven't said, which is that our little stories there are so many others. And then there are different body types and there's different blood types and how that factors in. And some, our stories aren't everyone's, right? But you all have one.
Yes. But here's some, I mean, people lose weight at different rates and all that kind of stuff. But what's interesting about the studies of like weight loss systems is that there was one really good longitudinal study where they took, I think, Mediterranean diet, Atkins diet, and Weight Watchers. Uh-huh. And they had 3 groups. And then they took a 4th group and they asked the 4th group just to write down what they ate, but not to care about it. Like not to care, they're not on a weight loss program. They lost, over a year period, they lost the same amount of weight as the 3 others.
Because they were just paying attention.
Right. So there's something about the paying attention, which is what I thought when I heard you beginning to talk and about the program that you went to.
Yeah.
Part of the process is saying you have to pay attention to what you eat.
Yep.
And when you begin to pay attention, there is something internally that begins to regulate.
Well, and they and pay attention, but then they added the little bit of, and I was a little aware of this. I did gain some more awareness, but just the way your food is made.
Yeah.
And various, like this particular guy had a big thing about like the modern chicken industry that he liked to. He was just like, there are so many hormones, you don't understand. Like they affect you. It's not the chicken of your grandparents. Like they could eat more chicken than you. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
And so there's all that. So,
which not as a side, or maybe just to go off on the hormone of chicken. I heard that Chick-fil-A may start reintroducing antibiotics into their chicken. There's a little rumor there. You should go Google it and find out if it's true.
Yeah. Well,
not you, but our listeners.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised it was ever removed.
They made some pact, I think, in the mid 2000s.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, back when they were real Christians.
This opinion has been brought to you by Only Andy.
Back when they played the lyrics of the worship songs.
They're still closed on Sunday.
And they still are closed on Sunday.
Anyways, weight loss. This was really interesting.
Well, okay. I wanted to bring up one more thing. Like, so I know people, and I could imagine there being some people who are like, this is like body shaming garbage. Like, you shouldn't be talking about this at all. Like, why not just eat what you want and gain weight? Like, what if we're just pushing against like the negative stereotypes against overweight people? Well, like, and as like Christians, like this earth is not our home. Like, why obsess over this? Why shouldn't we just eat?
That's a great. Well, I don't know.
Those are two different angles.
I don't know if anybody would go as far as you're saying, but I will.
But people go in those directions. Maybe not to the nth degree. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we have in our culture said a particular body type and a particular way of looking is healthy when it's not necessarily.
That's absolutely a factor. So there is the other side of this where you're obsessed with having a certain body that conforms to whatever,
Eating healthy.
Yeah.
And disciplining yourself to eat healthy in the way that you were talking. I really liked it. You eat with moderation. You celebrate when celebrating. You mourn when mourn. You live basic life.
Yeah.
The way in a way that's intentional and honoring to God. Right. That's
with a goal of like. I think that I should say the goal for me was to have like mobility and to be able to like live a productive life with my family and my friends. Like, I was recognizing that my being overweight was going to lead to decreased ability to do the basics.
Agreed. And I understand that, and I think it's a harder journey for some people than it is for others. And we all have what I would call we all have our addictions. We all have our spaces of weakness. And as followers of Jesus, who this is Faith Over Breakfast, we are called to walk alongside each other in these different spaces and with dignity and care carry this burden. Yeah. So I think we all should be concerned about our health. Yeah. But we should also be really careful about how we tend to one another's journey in that. Yeah. Right. And I think that's a real important thing. But I think you have to be thinking about it. Yeah. And I think and honestly, like, once you start doing something, some activity, you're probably going to start thinking about more ways to be healthy. So, the thing is, if you're like, I don't know where to start, I don't know how to do this, those two pastors don't seem like experts. Well, here is the one expert thing I can tell you. Just get out of your house and go walk for a half hour. Start there. Yeah. And if you can't walk for a half hour, walk for 15 minutes. Right. Just start.
Do basics. Do very simple, basic things.
And be proud of yourself when you accomplish it. And celebrate that you walked every day for 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, much of my little journey is I've discovered that everything that, I can do these things. I could integrate all my whole routine, my whole workout routine into just being around the house, but moving. Mm-hmm. Like I said, sometimes when I'm doing my little tippy toe walks, like sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, I needed to email somebody back, and my phone is in the bedroom, so I'll tippy toe walk back to the bedroom, email them, tippy toe backwards back in the living room. Does my daughter laugh at me? Yes. But I just am integrating some really simple, basic stuff. There's some stretches, like stretching. That's another thing that becomes like, it's not just like how to prepare for your workout. You literally need to learn how to stretch to not get hurt as you age. I hate stretching. Yeah. But I've integrated it's hilarious. Like, my countertop in the kitchen is the perfect height for one of my leg stretches. So I will get my coffee in the morning, put my leg up on the countertop, stretch forward, take like 4 sips of coffee, kind of sit there for a minute, pop a blueberry, switch legs. Like, it's just it's part of breakfast time. Yeah. And, stuff like that.
Well,
so it doesn't need to be, it can be this incremental little things. You don't need to have this amazing workout plan where you're posting and showing everybody that you're the buffest person ever. Like, you don't need to do that.
Here's the reality of it all. Like, there are people who are listening to this are in great shape and they're doing all the things. Yeah. But then there are other areas of their life that are the weight loss area where they're struggling.
And these same principles
exact principles work.
Like your spiritual disciplines or emotional health. Yep.
Relational health. All these kinds of things are the way you deal with your money. Everything, you start little.
Start with something small. Yeah. Make little incremental. You don't have to become, if you hold out this thing where it's like, I have to become great at this, that's discouraging. Oh man, you'll quit. Right. Chances are. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, look at that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. This was great. Thank you, Andy.
Sure.
It was really fun.
Yeah, glad to be
all right. I mean, if you had told me, we're going to do a weight loss podcast, I would be like, I don't know about that. But this was really good. Thanks.
Yep. This episode was brought to you by Chick-fil-A, apparently, who get down there before the antibiotics come back. And hopefully we haven't defamed their name, because I don't know if any of that was factual.
Yeah, but, I just saw a little headline, so I hadn't even read the headline.
Yeah, so that's how media works these days, Eric.
I know, it's probably bad. I should have
check your sources.
I ate at Chick-fil-A this week, so I'm there.
Well, this episode brought to you by Fact Checkers International. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. You can always email us or suggest a correction to something we have said at faithoverbreakfast@gmail.com.
Or right on our every single podcast system.
Yeah,
So
so I've
Spotify
heard,
and everything else, it says send us a text.
Wild.
This is your opportunity to like be like, dude, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And,
Yeah.
And then let us know. We'll actually talk about that.
We will. We'll talk about not knowing stuff
And
how you know the stuff and not us.
And helped us.
We'll be happy to bring that up. Maybe you can even come
yeah.
and be the podcast host.
Yeah, if you live in Tucson.
Because I'm out the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Look at that. So
Ooh, do you want to be a podcast host with your 2 guest spots, but you got to send a text.
And you got to
and live
get
in
on
Tucson.
it.
Get on it quick because this isn't going.
Since this came out, this will come out about a week after we did it. We're recording tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you need to call or text. Anyway, faithoverbreakfast@gmail.com. Check out our website, faithoverbreakfast.com. Where will it send you? To our podcast feed where you can listen. There's really nothing else to do on there. But it's great. Isn't it nice we have a website? And,
yep.
Thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to Faith Over Breakfast with Pastor Eric Siepen and Pastor Andy Littleton. Please share us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you.